about the number of people that we are seeing. That's people for you that are still going to join. Everybody's busy with other stuff. So today I'm going to unravel what is behind web development. So this is an event brought to you by GDSC OUI from Google. It's about student developers course in OUI, and then we're just trying to get things across students so that it's not just going to be only our career are going to be doing. So blah 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 about all this. We're going to know much about that when you join the group about GDSC. So now today we are going to start about web development, and then we are going to unravel some things about web development. So my name is Adebe Malamide, popularly known as Brian. I'm from OUI. I'm a web developer, probably full stack in feed. So I work with web development and web applications. Don't worry, along the story, we are going to understand the difference between website and applications, and web application. So the next thing is that we are going to talk about what is web development. So whenever we hear website, how does it come? Like who develop it? So what is the process? Like how do we get to websites? So actually, I'm not going to talk about the history of websites, blah blah blah, all those ones. If you want to know, it's just go and Google it. I'm just going to know the first place that first creates website. All those. I'm not going to talk about that. We are in productions. We are learning about the production project, so I'm not going to talk about that. There's not much time. And then so we're going to talk about web development. So web development is the process of building and maintaining website and web applications. So it's not actually about the stuff that you hear that, okay, I want to create a website. Whenever you hear web development, there's a difference between web and website. We're still going to talk about that. So web development contains two segments of process, which is building and maintaining websites and web applications. So I'm going to check the difference between websites and web application. They are just terms that are being used interchangeably. Like the people do use. I think when you said um, what is a program, what is a software, and when you say what is a programs, did you get? Sometimes people use them interchangeably. Sometimes, okay, for example, if you say what is coding and what is programs, some people that don't have the knowledge, they use it interchangeably like, okay, coding and programs, they are almost the same thing, which is different. So in this web development, we are going to check what is website and web applications. So now, when we talk about web, we can say we have a website and we can say we have a web application. So what does website and web application does? Like these two entities is what we whenever we navigate to any website, is either it's website or web applications. So let's check the difference. So certain websites and web are often used interchangeably, but they represent different types of online experience. So that's the reason why I'm willing to explain this part. So any other part that we want to explain is going to be under these categories. So now, the difference between website and web applications is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So now we have website and we have web applications. So now let's unravel the difference between them. So now whenever we talk about websites, then we are more talking about the content focused, because a website is primarily focused on presenting information and content to visitors. So whenever you navigate to new websites, and it's like the main purpose does not actually seem about functionality focused. Like they are not focused on functionalities. For example, if you navigate to GitHub, you are going to see that the GitHub they use more like 3D. So that one is more of websites. That's not web applications. So content focused, the website is primarily whenever a website is primarily focused on presenting information or a content such as blogs. So you are going to know that it's a content it's a website. It's not a web applications. And then we are going to say only text, images, videos, and other multimedia elements which are not actually responsible and interactive. So, and we also have functionality focused on web application. This was actually differentiated because a website that is categorized as a web application that have web application interface, it must be designed to perform a specific function of whenever you are logging, whenever you are able to receive receive messages and send messages. So that one has involved functionalities, implementations. So it actually goes beyond displaying static content and providing dynamic features. So that's about a web application. And we are going to talk about static content. Websites are often consist of static content that doesn't change frequently. So it's not actually so easy for you to say like, okay, for example, sometimes you be like, check our this stuff is actually happen mostly with the modern. Be like the modern is changing. For example, if you navigate to eShop, commerce, or something like Gmail, you see like the images you are seeing is changing, the content is changing. For example, like on WhatsApp, if you open WhatsApp, you are going to say that okay, person message you as 12:01. By the next 3 minutes, then you see like the date and times have changed. You see another pop-up message. So the stuff is not static. So that's web application. So that's what we call dynamic content. Whenever a web application generates a content on the fly based or on user interactions. So maybe you press something and then you see like stuff change. Maybe you press on something like okay, view notifications, and then you view the notifications that sent to you, then you're supposed to know that kind of website is web application. So if you don't understand this content, it's going to be so hard for you to come with your website creations. So you're going to just get bluff of all these stuff like websites, web applications. How am I going to do it? Because after we dig more into this web application, you're going to notice that there's different approach of doing all these stuffs. So now the next thing we have is limited interactivity, and then rich user interactivity. Sorry. So limited interactivity is that okay? Actually, websites actually have interactive modules. It have interactive content. Sometimes you can press a button and then something will change. You can press a button and then you will redirect to another page. That's done about the HTML. So we are still going to talk about HTML. So actually, a website actually comes within HTML and CSS, but I'm not going to explain deeply because we have not have the idea of all what those ones are. Okay, so limited interactivity is what we use to know if a website is a kind of a web development that does not have any application interface. So interaction on the website is generally limited to navigating and accessing information, and this minimum user input or dynamic content generation. So that's what you can use to actually get. Maybe it's a website. Sometimes it's just like I create a website, you just be like, oh, I'm sorry, this website you created is not actually a real website, it's just a web application. But it's not actually that it's something that is not um, well built is website, but sometimes you just have to do it like that. There are some things like you don't have to make it complex, so it's just like that. And then another thing is web application, which have this rich user interactivity. So whenever you call something web application, then it must have rich user interactivities. The web application offers a high level of interactivities, user input, data, perform actions, receive dynamic response from the applications. So whenever you get the word dynamic response, it's supposed to know that it involves programming language, because we're still going to talk about that, what's being used to generate a website and how it works. So that's all about difference between website and website application. So what are the examples we are going to notice? So the examples are social media platforms, online backend, system project, managed tools, and collaborative platform or example of web applications. So web applications actually involve all these, but uh, the stuff is actually being jump out together. I think I made some mistakes because social media of the stuff is direct to web application. But don't mind me about this example. This example is actually not relevant to this website. The website actually involves a blog. So whenever you see a blog, you know, like that's kind of website. But there are some more advanced blog that's been built with modern frameworks nowadays that actually are more responsive, more dynamic and to receive actions. So we can actually see, but most blog that I do see is actually limited in navigations and accessing information. So that's about the difference between websites and web applications. So the next thing I'm going to talk is the technical difference. So websites are often built on using HTML and CSS. So I actually mentioned something about that. So HTML is still what we're going to talk about in the future. It stands for hypertext markup language, and then we have CSS, which is cascading style sheet. So now the basic JavaScript is what we are going to be using actually, as it's more of what we use to communicate with them. Don't worry, everything I'm saying right now is still going to understand in the future. So now, while web application may involve more complex front-end frameworks, React, Angular, Vue, and back-end technologies, Node.js, and Ruby. But on the technical difference between the website and web application is that we don't actually need JavaScript into work whenever we are developing an ordinary website. So we don't actually need it. We just actually need it for some functions, but we don't actually need it to make our websites to be more effectful and responsive and interactive. So now we only use HTML, CSS effectively because we are trying to display some static images and designs that are being done by UI and UX. We are still going to talk about what UI and UX is. So I'm just starting. We have not actually done anything. So now all these things I'm saying, React, Angular, Vue.js, Node.js, Django, they're all connected to programming language. So whenever we're actually working with HTML and CSS, we actually need the programming language alone to help us to make a decision. So because programming language is often used in web development to make decisions, to perform actions, to automate things. So that's just about programming language. Because HTML is not a programming language and CSS is not actually a programming language. So HTML is hypertext markup language. It's a markup language. It's not a programming language. So that's just it. CSS is just for design. So you can actually think this thing as a human being. A human being, we have brain, we have skins, and we have skeleton. So now the skeleton is HTML. The way we have our hand, our eye, our nose, our ear. So all those ones, skeleton. And then we have CSS. Is the skin that we are seeing. Okay, this one is light, this one is black. All these things we are saying actually it's more like how we are being presented. So whenever you say a website, the way it's being presented, it's CSS that govern it. And then whenever you say structure of a website, okay, this is where we can see the button is HTML. And then the basic of JavaScript is just to control it. Okay, now what happens whenever I want to lift my hand? Okay, now something said the impulses to my hand, like okay, move it up, and it's being moved. What is that stuff? It's brain actually. It's being connected by nerves. So it's the same way we have JavaScript. JavaScript is being connected to HTML and CSS, which send informations to uh, to so do some things, perform some operations, and make them more interactive. And so in some, the term can be fluid in the definition as the level of interactivity and functionalities. I've been seeing that repeatedly. So a website is more content oriented, providing information, while a website application is task oriented. So now, a website is more content oriented. I said this that whenever we are saying something is being generated, actually, might actually being JavaScript, it might actually be just HTML and CSS. So it's more content oriented based and information for information purpose. So, but web application is task oriented, delivering dynamic and interactive experience. So, because of time, let's move to components of web development. So now, okay. So the components of web development are actually, I want to let you guys see something. And so I want to actually join the number of people that have done this task. We are still 7. Okay, so now okay, so now please, if anybody is okay, I think it's my screen that is broken. If everybody is sharing your screen, you can just at this side, you are going to say stop sharing or sharing. So you can just stop. I think it's my screen that is just repeating itself. Okay, so let me continue back. I just want to make sure that. So am I audible to everyone? If you guys did not respond, I'm not going to continue. Am I audible? Hey, oops, I'm audible. Am I audible? Good.
Yes, so
And somewhere I'm having a problem. Oh,
what's that?
somewhere I'm having a problem. Oh.
What is it?
Okay, the problem is that one of our hosts is not able to share his screen.
How?
So I don't know what caused that.
Like he's not seeing the share screen function.
Yes, he's not saying anything.
What's his name?
Miracle Mayowa.
He's yet to join the call. I can't see any miracle here.
Okay, I think he has unjoined the call. That's the reason why.
Yeah, I have to enable presentation mode, or better still, he can send his slide to you for you to actually present for him. But once he joined back, I need to like enable presentation mode or something like that for him to be able to share screen.
Okay. Okay, so people are complaining that the MTN service is not enabling them to connect to this call. So I don't know what we can do about that. Maybe probably we are going to schedule this stuff, but I don't think so. Anybody that is having problem, I think we are going to do that one inside the web development group. Okay, so let me start what I'm saying later on. I'm going to talk about that. Okay, so now the component of web development. So I'm going to start from what we normally heard, full stack, front end, back end. You hear I'm a full stack engineer like me. I normally say I'm a full stack engineer. Uh, who knows? I'm actually be front end and I'm actually be back end. You're going to know maybe I'm lying or I'm saying the truth now when I say I'm a full stack or when I say I'm a front end or back end engineer. So now the three feet of web development, because it's not actually what web development is like a feed. You get like a feed in tech industry. So now we have full stack, we have front end, and we have back end. So I'm going to talk about front end, and I'm not going to talk about the back end. We have our host that's going to talk about back end. So I'm just going to explain what the front end is and what back end is. So about the full stack, let me start from the full stack because it's what we're actually going to. It's what about it's what you guys are going to know over time. So a full stack is the combination of front end and back end. So now let's get started. So whenever we have I'm doing both front end and back end together, then you should know I'm a full stack developer. So a front-end developer, they be doing blah blah blah, and a back-end developer, they also be doing something. So you are going to check what each one of them are doing. So now the first thing you are going to be talking about is the front-end development. So now, a front-end development involves UI and UX and design implementation. So probably you have actually here, I'm a coder, I'm coding, I'm doing blah blah blah, I'm doing something. So the person is trying to copy what the UI and UX have done. So that's called design implementation. Oh God. And I go to secondary school. So I wrote my implementation. God will just help me. So now, the next thing we are going to talk about is the UI and UX. So now it actually stands for user interface and user experience. So now the UI and UX is something that is so important in the website, because this is where everything that you see, everything that happens begins. So even the back end, the UI and UX, actually they have um, impartation upon them. So without UI and UX, then there's no website. Forget that I'm in back end, I'm in front end, there's no website. And almost all of us have the proper knowledge of what UI and UX is. Let's get started. We're going to know that we have the proper knowledge of it. So now, the UI and UX stands for user interface and user experience, which are the two constructs of crucial elements in the design and development of a digital product. So now, for a website and application, I don't want to know either you are into website creation or you are into web application creation. You just need what UI and UX. So now let's get started and see what it actually uh, brings out. Okay, okay, let me present back for one point. So now we have moved to UI and UX. And tell me, the host is also saying that is unable to on the presenter mode, because like presentation mode, because like it said that it needs access from us, that we
Yes.
have to grant him access.
The host, the other speaker is Miracle Adebumi, right?
Yes.
Okay. You have
Okay,
enabled. I've enabled the necessary stuff.
okay, have you just done it now, or you have done it before?
I just enable it now.
Okay, so now that is all about front end development. We have talked about this, and we're on UI and UX. So I'm sorry I broke up the presentation. So now, and then we have talked about this. We are breaking into the UI and UX. So now, UI refers to the visual element and design component of the product or interface that user interacts with. It includes everything user can see, touch, hear, and interact with on the screen. So the design that you see, the button that's been created, the button has been colored blue, is all designed by UI and UX. The creativity is from UI and UX. So probably when you see that a website is so beautiful, don't credit the backend developer, don't credit the front-end developer, credit UI and UX, because they are the one that generates it. But whenever he says that the functions are being well done, then that's when you create the front-end developer, because actually they are the one we call front-end developer, because UI and UX is under what is under front-end. So now, uh, you don't actually really credit those people that implement the design. So the design is just for people that actually create it. But people that code it, it's just like doing copy. But if you get into the stuff, you know that it's not easy. Even though we do copy. So now the next thing I'm going to talk about is visual design. So now this comes under UI UX, which is color, topographies, icons, and blah blah blah. So that's all about UI. And then we have the layout, which is the arrangement and position of elements. So probably you will meet this when we are talking about HTML. So and then we have all these buttons, navigation menus, and all those ones. We have feedback elements, and the objective is to make um, the goal of user experience designed to create a positive and meaningful experience for the user, considering emotion, preferences, context in which they use in the product. There's no time, so I'm trying to skip everything. So what is the relationship between UI and UX? So now, UI and UX are closely related in the terms and are often used together. So UI and UX, UI does that. What user experience done is that, okay, this button, whenever they click on it, this is how we want them to be able to sign it. Okay, there's a registration page. So whenever they create this button, let us redirect them to the registration page. So now they are the one that think of that logic, that UX is, I don't want to think of that logic. So the user experience, like they have to make the experience that users have whenever they are on the website to be more reliable and more consistent. So that's the reason why we must have UI and UX in the field of front end. So that's just it. And then sometimes it's not actually about doing that. It's just about the effective of UI. So for the UI to make sense, whenever there's no user experience, then everything that users are doing is actually nonsense. So whenever you don't see UI, whenever you don't see user experience and there's UIs, then it's not complete. So that's all about that. And then we have user designers and UX designers often work collaboratively to create seamless, enjoyable, and user experience. So that's all about user experience and user interface. So now the basic is business impact, and then we have user central designs. So to have more approachables and ensuring that the end product meet the needs of expectation of the users. So whenever you are noticing that, for example, like this, when you navigate to uh, Best Nigeria and you go to one expert, you will see that there's so many functions on one expert and there's so less function on the uh, Bet Naija. Sometimes they actually do some manipulation by making function so complex most of the time when it comes to blockchain and all these trading stuff, because they don't actually want to lose. So they actually to hide some buttons for first thing, and second thing is like for us not to get jam-packed with functions. So they help us make it so sentimental, like okay, this is a selection of these functionalities. This is the section of these functionalities, so that we don't actually get everything mixed up. So that's what about UI and UX, and then the implementation of the designs. So that's when a programmer comes in, and then we're actually going to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's what the front end entails. And then, so what is HTML? HTML is hypertext markup language, as I've said earlier. So it's used in standardizing the language used to create and design web pages. It provides structure for content on the web, and it's an essential part of web development and user and users as well. So the HTML user markups element, which is known as tags. So now tags are just like so whenever you hear tags, tags does not actually come from HTML. Tags is generally used in the context of markup language. Whenever you have a markup language, whether it's XML, then there's something like a tag. So it's to describe the structure or a content or abstractive uh, content about something. So now, for example, in HTML, we have images, link forms, and other elements. So they are being embedded inside the tags. So the tags now contain the block of some other nodes that have something to do with the skeleton of the website. So now, probably the reason why we mostly use HTML is that HTML is what is being probably dedicated for websites. So other markup language are dedicated for something else, but HTML is being dedicated for only website alone. And there's nothing like website that we hear now or web applications that we hear that we don't find something like HTML. No matter how small it is, you will find HTML because they are the root and the fundamental basic of how a website or web application is being built. So now, probably for people that have more experience about HTML, what they use in HTML is they use tree nodes, because every HTML, every tags is being under a tags that's been under a tags that's been under a tags is what we know as nodes. So there might be div inside div inside div, another div inside div. Then we now have form, and under the form we still have another div. So it's just like from A to B, under B we have it's just like a segmental list. So that's the reason why HTML is so very important in a website. And then the next thing we have is markup language. And I've explained that the structure of a website. I've explained that. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is CSS. So the CSS, as I've said earlier, is just like the skin that we are seeing in a human being. So it's just like the design, how something is going to look down in the futures. So now in the framework, we have a CSS, Bootstrap, Spinner CSS, SAS, LESS, and all those ones are just like the framework that we use for designing. So the next thing we're going to talk about is styling, and it's just like allows us to define the styles for HTML, such as fonts, colors, spacing, position, and more. And then the separation concerns, because HTML actually jump everything together. So with CSS, we can separate some things and make it more look the way we want. So now there are some rules that actually follow CSS, and then we can be how we mark them up. So like I create a button. So now on CSS, how do I actually color the button when I have 5,000? Let me just don't let me make it that fast. Like when I have like two buttons. So how do I say that this is the button I want to be red? I want the second button to be black. So how do I do that? So the rules comes in with CSS. So whenever you get started, that we are going to know like how we do that. So now the next thing is JavaScript. So now I said JavaScript. Why not Python or any other programming language, whether we have Java? So why is it JavaScript? But the reason why we are going to use JavaScript is this. JavaScript is primarily known as a client-side scripting language. So whenever you hear something like client-side, it means like it's happening within your browser. So which means it's executed in the client device. So any device, that means that you can locate a JavaScript. So on any device, either is your is your wristwatch. Once it can reach a website, that means that it must have JavaScript running. But there's difference between when you have a website being loaded on your device, and you are sending an API. There's difference. API is something that does not actually do with HTML. It's just like you are sending something to something, and something is sending you a response back. Back end engineer is going to tell us more about that. But the stuff is that I said that on your device. So on your device, sometimes there are some devices now that their main work is just to send API. Is to send response to the API, and then they get a response back. So they might not actually have JavaScript, and you'll be like, okay, I said that anything that can locate a website is it must have JavaScript. It might not actually have JavaScript, but once it can load how it's been designed. It must have JavaScript. So that just is when it can load the content out, and you can see that this is how the website looks. It must have JavaScript on any device. Either it's device they have done 5,000 years ago. Then once it can break, it must have JavaScript. So the next thing is code embedded directly inside the HTML. So we can actually embed code in HTML and blah blah blah. So we are going to do that when we start. We are going to see how we do that. So now, execution in browser, all these things, we are going to talk about that next time. We have less time for this. And responsiveness is what we actually do, because sometimes we have something like a website I want to display on our computer and on our mobile on different devices. And then for example, like this on my laptop, I might this responsive of the stuff. I'm actually want it to be so long. But on small devices, how can I make this black square design? How do I want it to fit it inside small screen? So that's what I mean by responsiveness. So responsiveness design across browser compatibility, importance of this stuff, settings, and how we do this. We are going to discuss that. So that's the end of this talk. So now this is all we have for the front end. So now there's so much things to reveal at the back at what is happening behind this stuff. So now that's when I'm going to invite our backend engineer to talk about how this thing actually correlate together. So, but before I leave, do anybody have a question? Am I audible to everyone? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, you are audible. Okay, so now I'm actually going to ask if anyone of us have any question that they want to ask me. Do anyone have? So do you not understand what I explained? We are not talking, that means like we do not understand. Am I audible at all? Am I audible? Oh, okay, so I think one person is asking that what is user. So now user experience is like the graphic design that is so emotional, communicating through typography, color and images. So how can I explain it more further, because I've explained before? Okay, sometimes we use things to communicate. It's not actually about designing. There are some constructs and symbols that can actually communicate much further. This actually happens in mathematics. We need some symbols to communicate further. So user experience is like the emotional design that can actually correlate with what we are trying to design. Our design might be actually so fine, but it might sometimes, okay, sometimes you will see a button, you don't even know that it's a button that you're supposed to click to implement what you want. So that's just what UX is. So their user experience that make experience that you have with the website so fluent. Did you get what I'm trying to say? So the person, I think the person is Randy Black. Do you now understand what I'm trying to say? Hmm? The person is not talking anymore. Okay, now so let me check another question then. I think there's nobody. There's nobody. I don't even know how I'm going to do this stuff, because actually most people does now join this call, and most of them are telling me like MTM is doing somehow. So I don't know what we are going to do about that. Maybe when we start the class, then uh, we are going to have another video. But any other thing too, I'm going to be inviting our backend engineer. But before I do that one, uh, there is no a person that is actually helping us to jot all this stuff down, because I think Farouk supposed to be here, but not know the reason why it's not. Maybe he has problem, but it's all about us. Yeah. So don't worry about that. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that we should all try to jot things down. I'm supposed to say this before I actually say all my this stuff. So The next thing I'm going to do now is that I'm going to call our backend engineer. So I think anything from front end has been done. So the next thing for me, okay, can you please more enlightenment on HTML? Okay, before then, I think there's no time, but I'm still going to do that. So okay, HTML is hypertext markup language. Hypertext markup text language, sorry. So what HTML does is that is something like I explained this stuff. HTML is just like structure. They are the skeleton of a website. For example, all of us like this, in much of the stuff, the group of the skeleton is what we front-end developer call components. For example, like this, all of us, we are seeing the screen right now. We see a particular white, long, this white design here is actually a design that's been brought to you by a skeleton. It's a skeleton, it can actually be a G, it can actually be something. It's just like a space that you can put something in, that you can embed a design in. So now, whenever you see a website, then you should know that it has skeleton. So all this color you are seeing, we move to color. Did you get? Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to share my screens for you guys to see what I'm saying again. Uh, I'm going to share my screen. So are we all here? So now are you still seeing my? So if I inspect this website, then I'm going to see something like this. Don't tell me I can't inspect. Oh, I'm doing okay now. So all of you can actually do this stuff. You are just going to left click. After you left click, then you're going to see inspect. So you're going to see something like this. And once, if you're on Chrome, once you are pressing it, then you'll be seeing each segment, how it covers. So that's just about the HTML. So it's been telling you like, okay, for this block, this is the div that actually controls it. This is the tag that controls it. For this place, this is the tag that controls it. Sometimes now, I will say this place now is a particular thing that's controlling it, which is the skeleton. All these ones, they are designed. They can be in form of SVG or a logo or a link that's being embedded inside this stuff. So now this one now is another div. This one you are seeing now is another div. This one is a headings. This one is another button that have headings. So this one is another div. So now, all these things you are seeing is actually having a root of HTML. It's just like it's because like it's being designed and then it have effective UI and UX. For example, like this, all of us can simply like this is the name of a person. So it's the work of the UI and UX. Like, this is how we want to be designing a person that will not have a picture. Let the person have what that is its name or what is choose as a sticker. So that's the work of UI and UX. But what you actually see is anything that it sees is HTML. But it's just that it has been designed and it has been incorporated with JavaScript. So you don't understand. Probably if a person sees you, you'll not be able to even know that this is the this is the main bone. This is your real good. Nobody will actually know that. What they will say that you are actually handsome or beautiful. So they will not actually know maybe your bone inside is wrecked. Maybe you cannot move your hand. Maybe your this maybe it's because like the CSS which on the flesh which on our body we know as flesh as skin have covered. So actually, even if sometimes, for example, this thing comes when for people that are using framework. Sometimes you see everybody be using deep throughout. You know that they're using deep because that the design has been covered. So that's just about HTML. So did the person now understand the stuff about HTML now? Randy Black, are you with me? Okay. So now, did you now understand or you still have any question? Okay, so actually anybody can actually ask any question before I call um the backend engineer to explain the stuff for us. So uh, I'll be calling our backend engineer to come and explain what is backend in the industry of web development, why do we need it, and how do we start, and what are the things that we need to know about backend and how we can actually map it with front end. Because basically this because actually a front end developer does not have a logic that whenever we press this button, they let this happen. Okay, stop sharing. Then after I stop sharing, then my screen will not be sharing again. This one is that the logic of the backend we don't know about. Front end, we are so dull to the extent that the only things we know is colors. We don't know anything about functionality. Like, okay, let's spread this thing and let this thing happen. So how that stuff happen, then is going to explain to us. So can our backend engineer take over, please? Am I audible to everyone?
Hello, hi everyone.
I one fine.
Am I audible?
Yes, we are audible.
Okay. Um, can you stop sharing so that I'll be able to share here? Okay. Can you guys see my screen now? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
I want to ask, is it that it seems almost everyone is not active in this meeting? Because if everyone is active, like when the speaker is asking, am I audible? Who has a question? There is a lot of silence.
Now
So,
the
and that
issue.
means that
Okay.
the members of this meeting are not actively participating. It's like they're doing another thing, just log into their screen, like just open the meeting and they're doing other things in the background.
Um. Yes. I actually get that, but another issue is not everybody can actually like talk because the functionality is just for people that we enable. But I believe they can still drop a message in the chat section though. But I'm not sure if people are used to this call. But if they are very active, they can just click on the chat to actually drop like a response for them to interact with the speaker. Yeah, so I believe that should work. You can continue, sir. Gee.
It's, why is that? Like, is it that there's no preparation for this meeting or what? If 24 people were RSVP'd, that means they actually promised that they are going to attend, and just 10 are attending.
Okay, so actually what happened is that I have still like five messages and I check up on some other two. They say that they're having another event. So that making 7. So the other 5 people said that they are unable to connect. Out of those 5 people, 2 said that they are unable to connect. So actually, I don't even know what we can do about that. But about the others, actually, some people are so stubborn. At first, they even force them to register, and they'll be like, "I will come, I will show up." So that's just what happened. But about the other
I
five
think
people, I'm going
I
to.
think that's where. Okay, sorry. Is the GS then DC lead on this call?
Yes, that's Samuel Adekunle.
Yeah, that's
Okay. I think what I would advise is don't force people to join this platform. For example, I'm a student of OAU, and we also have a Google student club also, and we have a lot of clubs. Now, I don't join most of them, not because I don't want to join, or not because I'm not interested, but I know that I don't have time. So, so I instead of me joining, and I will be a bad example to new people joining. So okay, I made up my mind. Okay, for some time now, for some time I will not join. And when they come to me, I tell them flat, okay, not that I don't want to join you guys, but this. I don't want a situation in which I will join. Then okay, I will not be making excuses, and others also will also follow suit. That okay, this is why are you not talking to this guy? This guy too is not joining. So like because of that, like that's why I'm not joining, and they expect that fact. So don't force people to join the club actually, because coding work is not money people a lot. It's like the Bible said, like many people. I don't know how they say it, like few applied, but more people apply, but few are chosen. A lot of people want to learn coding, but few people are actually showing the right interest. So coding work is not a work that is very simple that everybody can do. So if you have joined, yeah, if you have, yeah, it's good to evangelize, but if you are forcing people to join, then be rest assured that you will be forcing them also to be committed. And coding work is not something that programming work is not something that you can. It's like this Yoruba proverb. I saw if there's a non-Yoruba agency here. They say that Ali fit particular mesh load, but Ali fit particular fun memo. I can force a horse or any animal to the river, but you can't force them to drink. So now don't force people to join the club. Like screen their intentions. When you are interviewing them, it's good to evangelize, invite people. When you invite them, check their commitment, check the way they respond. If you notice that this person lacks commitment, then the useful person to this club is the person that actually have the willingness to learn. So if that person wants to learn or want to improve, and that person, even if that person doesn't have time, the person will try. Okay. I just thought of just saying this because like it's
eh,
very.
yes, thank you very much. Actually, about that, um, we have not actually forced anybody to join the club. The only thing we did is to like talk about the club to people that are interested. But what Olamide is trying to talk about is like probably you have an event now. You know, this is like an event. You might want to like talk to your friend and all those stuff. That's I believe that's what he meant by like forcing them, like probably your colleague, your coursemate, and telling them that just register for this event. Yeah. So thank you very much. I actually get your point. Yeah. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. I understand your point. But then, if an event is being organized by the team, by the club, I believe that all members of the club should attend at least 60% or maybe 75%. Well, okay, minimum of 60% should attend. Like, why are we clubs? Why are we members? Why are we teammates? When somebody or there's an event and few people, I have to be forcing or be telling people that register. Automatically, members of the club should register. That is an automatic, because when we are talking, okay, for example, now we are talking about when the web Scape, web wave, backend, whatever. What I've noticed in the industry is not most companies are not even interested in your coding ability. Some companies don't even care. And if you check, most of those boss, all those team lead, senior developers, if you are very close to them, you see that they have the experience, but they have forgotten how to code. They have the experience, but a single line of code they might have forgotten. I've noticed several times, and they don't care. What they care is about your soft skills, your team, like your collaboration, teamwork. That's the two paramount stuffs. So if you don't have teamwork, you don't have collaboration, you don't have time management, and all these things. Even if you can code like a pro, you will always be a junior developer. You will never move to senior. And that junior developer, to some companies, we still need that collaboration. So if there's collaboration, I think if we have an event organized by the club, all members, at least 60% should attend. Okay, by the way, I will not take much of our time. This I think the time says the meeting ends by 10:45, so I will just go straight to what I'm here to do for the day. So, am I audible? Like those have access to mic, you can send messages in chat to show that okay you are active in the meeting. So now, am I audible before I start?
Yes, you
Yes.
are audible. We can hear you.
Okay. Now, my name is Miracle Adebomi. So, I'm a student of OAU, electrical electronics engineer. So, and I'm a Python engineer. So, with let's say 6 to 7 plus years of experience. So, actually, I would have prepared an entire slide on that, but I'm so very much busy with other stuff. So, that's I don't. I'll just open my CV instead of just adding that to the slide because I didn't have much time. So I'm a software developer. I started as a freelancer on Fiverr. So I think I did that for like maybe like a year or two. So before I started professionally with Second Mind. So Second Mind, where I was a backend engineer. So I think I was there for like 1.5 years. So then currently now I'm with Turing as a AI software engineer, and also for more than a year. So if you can learn more about me by visiting my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn has a lot of details about my experience. So now I'm here to talk about backend development. So now the agenda of the meeting. So we are talking about the role of backend development, component of backend development and databases, API development. This is a typo. Then testing and deployment. So let me start. So let me start with the role of backend deployment development. So that should be development, not deployment. So now backend development involves like working with server-side software, emphasizing on unseen element of the website. Now, when our first speaker was delved so much in the front end aspect. So why back end, why front end? So front end is what you see, what is in front. And of course, for example, now in anything in this life, you always see what is in front. You don't know what is in the back. For example, let's say on a queue or maybe a building, you can see what is in front of the building. Let's say you are approaching a building, you are going to see the gates because they are outside, they are in front. So you can see the parking space, you can see the front view, but you can't see what is in the kitchen, what is in the bedroom, what's at the back of the building. So those are back end. That's what we mean by what we mean by back end. So front end is what you see visually as a user. So while back end is what you did not see. And when we say what you did not see, what is I will not say what you did not see alone. I will say what you are not aware of, like where the process actually originates. So that's what we meant by backend. So and in in the web development, we have two sides. We have the server side and we have the user side or the client side. Now, the client side is what you observe. Anything that happens at your end is the client side. Like let's say, okay, you have visited a page, the catch, the clicks, the loading the page, everything, the UI UX, all those ones are the client side because it's that happens at your own end. Why backend? Why backend is what is happening on the server side. What is happening on the server side? Like it seems like everybody has disconnected.
You see? Can't hear you. No.
Hello?
Hello, we are all here. We can all hear you. People are still here, don't brothers. People are still here.
Yeah, I can see the participants. The participants has dropped. So what's happening here?
Okay, I think what happened is that let me charge those two ups. One said he's out of data. Another one says that he has another thing to attend to. The third one said it's good. Can go that I think let me just tell them it's like it's what I said.
Okay, then I guess if I will continue because I see that you guys are recording it, so I believe that those people that
Yes,
are
we,
not
we will later
on the
share it.
meeting, they will read later. So I will just, since a lot of people are disconnected, I will just go briefly, then maybe we end the meeting because to me it's of course it means that they are not ready for the event. So there's no need of me stressing myself after stressing myself to prepare the slide. So let me just go briefly. So role of backend development. So like I said, backend is what happens on the server side, what you don't see. So and backend developers are the developers responsible for what happens at the backend. So and what happens behind the scenes are the APIs, the architecture, the server management, and any other thing that happens on the server side. So now, as a backend developers, you must be engaged in website development and maintenance, like the functionality, let's say the sign functionality, the login functionality, registration. For example, now, let's say your school portal is an example of a backend and a front-end integration. So backend is where the scores are calculated, the CGPA, everything. So depend and it has to be maintained. Let's say there is a change in the school rules, maybe there is a change in the school or whatsoever. They have to maintain. It has to reflect on the website. Let's say there's a new information. It has to reflect on the website. Those are maintenance. Let's say there is a new update. For example, now we upgrade our systems every day, our operating systems, our phone, our apps. So let's say one of the components used are outdated, they will have to update it, and that's part of the maintenance. So just the way we service our car, we service all the our things we are using, we always also services the servers also. So the maintenance, then two, writing quality code. So then three, QA testing. QA testing is to ensure that your code is actually working as planned. So that is the quality assurance. That's what we call QA, quality assurance test, which means how what assurance can you give us on your code when you write it? Because this is in the industry, this is very important. It's not about I can write code. I've developed a code. What your boss will be interested in is how can you give us assurance that this your code whenever it is deployed on the server, everything will work fine. Then you evaluate performance and speed because you don't want your backend to be slow. Because if your backend is slow, for example, we notice that if you go to YouTube, Google website, it is very fast, and millions of people are going to that website every day. So if you are evaluating performance, you are going to know uh, if the speed is just a moment. Yeah, so you are going to know if your speed, if your website is fast or if your website is slow. So then also troubleshooting and debugging. Let's say something is not working fine. It happens. For example, in our bank, in our bank app. Uh, okay, so our bank apps now. It has issues. Sometimes you will try to maybe log into your bank app, then you have all these issues. You are unable to log in. So all these things are errors. So any errors, or don't let me say errors. Bug is an unwanted behavior of your code. Is what we call bug. So any part of your code that is not wanted, any behavior that is not wanted is bug. For example, if you are logging through your mobile app now, your mobile banking software, and you're unable to log in, that is a bug because, of course, we will not write our code at the back end so that the users will not be able to log in. So that is a bug. So one way of fixing them is troubleshooting and debugging, then providing training and support. So, and like I said in the beginning of when I was talking to you guys, collaboration is very important. So you have to collaborate with the client side, the user. You have to collaborate with them to make sure that everything is working perfectly fine. So these are just few rules of what backend does, of what backend developer do. So let's move to the next slide, which is the component of backend development, the server. So the server is the remote computer which your backend application is hosted. So that is the server. So the database is the functional part of your server that holds the data of users data. For example, if you log into your bank account, yeah, sorry, into your mobile bank app, you notice that once you log in with your credentials, your history, you see it, your transactions, your activities, your balance, everything, you see it there. And that's because it is saved somewhere, your data. Now you cannot log in with your credentials and be seeing another person's account balance, another person's transaction. You only see yours. So now where it is, so the functional part of your backend application that is doing that is your database. Database is where your data as a user, or not only user, all data are stored, most information data. Then we have the application programming interface, a gateway or intermediary in which interact with backend applications. We are going to talk about this in detail much later. Then we have server-side programming languages. So server-side programming language, like I said, we have the client side, which is what happens at the user end. Then backend is what the server side is what happen at the server end, the server level. So then and the languages used are Python. We use Python for backend. We use PHP, Java, .NET. Then we also use JavaScript also. Like the first speaker said, we use JavaScript at the we use JavaScript at the client side, the front end. We also use JavaScript at the back end also, and that is what Node.js is all about. So then framework. So framework are just libraries that are used in each languages to build a web application. The web server management, middleware. Since most people are not attending, like I said, I'll just go briefly. Middleware's version control system, which is your Git, and the likes. Security considerations, data modeling, caching, deployment, and hosting. So then API development, API development, like I said, are just you just say intermediary. It's like a gateway. It's like a gateway between the user, the client side, and the backend application. So it serves as it's just like it's like a gate. Like if you are going to a company, a building, the gate is an entry between you for you into the building, and it's also a point of exit from the building. So we can just model API as gates. So Then we have types of API, web API, REST, which is representational state transfer, which in most cases uses JSON. Then also we also have SOAP, which is simple object access protocol. I think that one uses XML. So then we have database APIs also. So now let me just say summary of API is, API is we can just say that is a functionality given to the client's side without knowing anything about the backend. So what we are, for example, now, let's say you are let's say an application, and that application requires you to know to have the look, for example, let's say all these loan BVN for them, they will tell you it is wrong. And when you enter a correct BVN, they will pass you. But meanwhile, they are not there when you register your BVN. In fact, your BVN was at the bank, like maybe WEMA, GT, UBA. But your loan app, let's say PAMPay, OPay, all those people, like they are not there when you open it. So how did they know? How did they know? Now, it is done at the bank, and it has been managed by CBN. So what CBN will just do is just provide an API, and what that API means is just that, okay, you as anybody that want to know information about a BVN, you just send us the BVN. When you send us the BVN, we will help you validate at our side. And when we validate everything at our side, we are going to send you back your response. That is API. So because as a PAMPay don't have any light to your BVN, they don't, and they can never. But they need to know to verify your BVN before they can loan you money, and that's what API is for. So API is just a way of just telling them, okay, don't worry about this BVN. You don't have access to it, but don't worry, give us the BVN. We are going to verify from our own system. Once we verify and it is okay, we will send you the response. So that's not the summary of APIs. So I'd have loved to talk about this, but I think I can't do that now since. So then databases. So database, like I said, is the functional part of your web application that manages your data. So for example, let's say let's use the school portal for example. If you I don't know, I think it's the same for every school actually. If you okay, don't let me use that one. Let me use why jump. Jump is a very universal one. So now when you register your jump and you try to log into the jump portal, you cannot if you choose a particular school as your first choice, you cannot later log in after a few months and be seeing another school there. Now that means the data was actually saved somewhere in which they actually recognize you that you are the one coming and they give you your data. So that is what database is all about. Database is an effective way of managing users' data without mixing things up. So and the essential part of database is on SQL. That is structure queried language. So and we have different type of databases. We have MySQL, PostgreSQL, and we have no relational database also. So I would have actually loved to talk about this, but maybe that will be later time when a lot of people are on the call, because it's not something that I can just explain, because I know you are going to ask questions, and well, who is going to answer the questions? Then we have testing and deployment. So testing and deployment is, like I said, when you write a code, you want to actually know if the code is working. It's not about writing on the lines of code. It's like a bank app. If GT comes to you and they tell you that we have a app, or not only it's your the bank of your choice, they come to you that, okay, you now have a mobile app, and you download the mobile app and you're unable to use it, you log in, the login functionality is not working, you will not be happy. So that's why testing is very, very important. Testing is an effective and reliable way of making sure our code behaves the way it behaves, the way we want it to behave, and there's no bug, even though practically, but there will always be bug, but it must be manageable, because we have categories of bugs. So we have showstoppers, you have high level bug, low level bug, and the likes. So And we have types of testing. We have unit testing. Unit testing is when you have testing each point of the code, like each part of the code, each pieces of the code functionality. Integration testing is when, for example, now we are talking about mobile app. We have mobile app banking, we have internet banking. So now your internet banking is a combination of front end and back end, in which a user will go through a website and log in to the back to the bank whatsoever. So that is internet banking. Why mobile banking is when you're using your mobile app. So now both of them are eating the same backend. So now backend are done with their code, front end are done with their code. Mobile people, maybe either iOS or Android, they are done with their code. You need to integrate all these things together so that it will not be that the best people using internet banking are able to log in, but people that are using mobile app are unable to log in, or people that are using internet banking, they are able to send money, but they can send money, but they cannot check the history of their transaction. While people that are using mobile banking, they can actually check the history of their transaction, but they can't send money. So testing these things is what we call integration test, making sure that all parts is working fine. Then we have functional testing. So functional testing is when we want to ensure that each part of our code is behaving exactly the way it is to behave. For example, now login is actually behaving the way it's supposed to behave. It is not that the user choose or login and no, it's not that user choose login and they are transferred to sign up, or user wanted to maybe buy a recharge card and they end up okay. Not that the user wants to buy data or send money and they end up buying a recharge card instead. So that is functional testing. You have to make sure that every function, both the API, okay, for example, now let's say we are talking about BVN where a loan app is trying to verify a BVN. It's not that they are trying to verify the BVN and then instead of verifying the BVN, and other things happen. Maybe they are verifying their NIN, or maybe, for example, a function is supposed to call an API to verify the BVN. Instead, is calling if API to verify NIN. You don't want that. Then you want load testing. What do you mean by load testing? You'll notice that there are some sites that when there is traffic, like what I mean by traffic is when a lot of people are bombarding a site. Like that's what we call traffic. Just like the way in real life, when a lot of cars are jammed on the road on the same route, that's traffic. Same also here also. So now load testing is done. Okay, there's one site that if 1 million people should visit them, they will break. You will not be able to view that such site. They'll be telling you that come back later or some kind of issues like that. Why sites like Google, millions of people are going to YouTube every day, and YouTube has never tell you that they are they are under whatever that should come back later. So load testing, we must ensure that okay, all our users are able to use our application without any whatsoever. Then security testing, yeah, you don't want to buy something online, maybe on Jumia. When you buy something on Jumia, backend will be the one to process your payment. Payment is not processed at the front at the client side, it's processed at the server side. So you don't want to submit your card details to Jumia, and some people now hack Jumia. Then after hacking Jumia, they have access to your credit card or debit card, and they're now using it to debit money from your account. You don't want that as a user. So, and also as a backend developer, we must ensure that there is security to our web application, so that hackers will not hack our web application and misuse our users or our customers or let me say users in general, our users confidential information. So that's security testing. So then we have deployment. So now, what do you mean by deployment? So the deployment is the process of you have finished your code now, you have tested everything on your system, it is working. Now you are not writing the code for yourself. You are actually writing the code for some people, set of people. Now, the process of moving that piece of code to where this target audience be able to access it is called deployment. Like it's stated here, deployment is the process of moving an application from the final stage of deployment to production. Production means anywhere you are hearing of production, production means serving anything that is serving its purpose to the user at large, that is production. So where it becomes available to users. So key aspects includes continuous integration and continuous deployment, CI/CD. So CI/CD is I don't know a lot of I don't know some of you would have been practically involved in programming work. You will notice that there's something we call CI/CD, because when you write a code, you have to push to the server. So that it is when you push to the server, then you now deploy it. It's when you deploy it that the user will be able to see the new changes of the code. Now, a very seamless and flawless way to do that is CI/CD. CI/CD is just like you just commit it. If you are using version control, you just push it to your version control, like Git, for example. And the pipeline, we call it pipeline, we take care of everything by immediately it triggers that, oh, this user have pushed this code, then automatically it deploys it to the server without you even doing anything. That is continuous integration and continuous deployment. We have server and environment set up. So because when you are talking about deployment, we are actually moving the code to the server. Then we have monitoring and maintenance. Now, like I said in the beginning, like I said, that backend, the role of backend developers, like they are to write a quality code. Now, this code will be the one to be pushed to the server, like to the users through deployment. So then, like there's one that was maintaining website development and maintenance. So maintenance is making sure that your server are updated, like I said. So then, for example, now let's say before, like we noticed that 5 years or 10 years ago, if you are conversant with websites, web application, you notice that you just log in with website. You log in with your username and password only. But now, for the past 5 years now, we now have something we call two-factor authentication. Now, two-factor authentication is a process in which your password is not enough. So after you log with your password, you still have to, use other, maybe OTP authenticator or devices to authenticate yourself further. So it was not there before. Most sites that, like, for example, like Google now, Google has existed many years before, and 10 years, 20 years ago, there's nothing like 2FA. So, but this same Google, if you now open your Gmail account, you'll be asked to set up your 2FA, second two-factor authentication. Now, that's where we call maintenance. It's part of maintenance because they upgraded their packages, they upgraded their libraries. So, and you can only do that on the server. Then we have scalability. Scalability is when your mobile application can expand, and let's say you have millions of visitors or users, and your backend application can expand itself, can scale itself to accommodate all these 1 million, because web development is associated with cloud development, like cloud computing. Cloud computing is where you allocate servers. Like, for example, all the server that you are talking is like some computers on the cloud that are connected to the cloud. Now, these computers, we call them server. Now, this server, you pay for them. You pay for all these services. If you host your application on the server, like on cloud computing, you will be paid. Like, let's say AWS, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, Azure, which is offered by Microsoft. So now I think these are the three leading cloud computer services, and also IBM. Now, if you create the servers there and you push your code there, you'll be charged. So now, if you allow your code to be serving 1 million people, it's like your data. When you subscribe for MTN bundle, you use your MTN, you don't use your data, they will always charge you. If you sub 2.5 gig for 30 days, if you don't use it, after 30 days, it's gone. Same thing with backend application also. If you host your backend application and you make it to accommodate 1 million people, even if no people at all visit your website, your backend application, use it, you will still be paid. You will still be charged for 1 million people, which is unfair. And if you pay if you pay to accommodate 100 people and will bombard your site will crash. Way of solving this is what we call scalability. Scalability is when you tell okay, I am accommodating 100 people for now, but if the need arise and 100,000 people bombard my site, I want you to scale. So instead of crashing, we have to accommodate them. So that is scalability. So it's also part of deployment because of the deployment process. Then we have rollbacks. Now rollback is you will notice that it happens to I think it happens to some company like AWS. Sometimes when you are trying to change a new interface, they push some changes. And when they push some changes, it causes a serious effect on the users. Users are complaining that it is not working, blah blah blah. Now, what's the next thing to do? They have to roll back. So, what do you mean by roll back? For example, now, I think few months ago, but unfortunately, that's why it happens to actually plan the software upgrade. Then after the upgrade, now let's say you're using version 1.2. 1.2 is working fine. But let's say due to some policies or some changes, you want to move user, you have add some functionality to 1.3 because version 1.3 has now 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 the problem now is let's say you move to 1.3, then there was an error in your code which you did not notice. There's a bug in your code, and after pushing it, you now notice that hey, there's a serious error. What do? Rollback plan is any plan that you have laid down to make you quickly go back to your version 1.2 that was okay, that was smooth. So that's what we call rollback plans. You must be able to go back to version 1.2. So you have pushed version 1.3, there was a problem, you want to go back to version 1.2. Then when you go back to version 1.2, then try and fix it. So when you fix it and it is working perfectly fine, click back. Then tell your users, we are sorry, we have fixed the error, and now you can now upgrade to version 1.2. That is what you call rollback. So I think this is the end of the talk on backend. So I'm very sure that there's no question because
But I'm going to the question from the people because as so because actually I'm actually doing another record on my laptop. So I will send this one to the group. So if I see that you have any issue, then I'm going to get back to you. But I think that you have detailed everything because it's even more like of a course, Sha. So I don't think anybody should have a question, but based on like everybody. So if you have any question, I'm going to get back to you. But I think for me, I understand so perfectly.
okay. So one thing that we advise is actually is Mr. Samuel active here?